Yes, we're sorry.
I'm gonna share my screen, so you won't have to look at yourself. Over glad.
If you want the camera off, I can do that too.
Yeah, just turn it over.
Okay.
People from Burlington can hear you, right?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
You, think anybody's there?
Tammy is gonna be there, I know.
Just put it on.
Yeah, so 2 minutes or.
They better, so they know their forms.
Yeah,
July.
don't we know it, huh?
No.
That's the fan.
As soon as you learn the other one, we can change that.
Yeah.
Thank you, people, because we need that in our life. Karen likes loading up new phones.
Oh, love it.
Love it.
I only got one victim.
Sherry Harris.
Sherry, just so you know, your name tag, I have your name tag here at the, Hillsborough office. I'll put it in your mailbox.
Thanks, Karen.
All right, it is 1 o'clock, so we will get started. Can't promise to get you out of the sweltering heat, but I will certainly do my best. Depends on questions, discussion. Obviously, I'm not deterring you from asking questions, because this is a big deal. So the kind of the first thing that I want to do is I'm just going to give you an overview of all of the forms that are changing. Denise, good for you. You don't have to unlearn anything and learn anything new. So it's just going to all be new to you. Just kind of a summary of some major changes on some of the documents. And so I'm going to give an overview, and then we will go with my weekly form calendar moving forward. So in other words, next week, we're going to go through the offer to purchase. I'm not going to go through the offer to purchase today. If I went through every one of them today, we would be here for 5 hours. Probably at least. So just going to talk about what's changed. Next week we'll go through offer to purchase, those actual changes, and then hey Tammy, no, next week will be fire forms. The following week will be offer to purchase, and then the fourth week will be miscellaneous forms. So, sorry.
It's a hotness.
It is, and you go on vacation for a couple of days, and all goes to hell. So offer to purchase has changed. Couple of things that big major change is the due diligence fee. So due diligence has always been due diligence monies have always been due at time of execution. Right? So now they get plus 1 day. So date of execution plus 1 day.
One business day, or is it just calendar day? Like if it's a Friday execution?
My guess is that it's because so many people are bringing, their due diligence money and bank checks. And on Saturday and Sunday, you take the close.
Next banking day
Yeah.
following the effective date.
About one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, thanks.
Yes, so it is, and forgive me, I'm been learning, I've been teaching myself, but still,
Yes, we can read it.
well, still putting some things together. So effective date plus plus 1 banking day. We'll talk a little bit more about this with, when we do miscellaneous forms, because a big thing, we talked about yesterday in the BIC update is, the use of form 355T, which is, notice to, they changed the name of it. Notice to buyer to deliver cash or immediately available funds. So, this is where that next day you would want to send, if you haven't received it by effective date plus 1 banking day, you would then want to send form 355T unless there's some arrangements that, and you're aware of why it's going to be later than that. Technically, the buyer is in breach if they don't deliver it by effective plus 1, and the seller can unilaterally terminate after they do the demand for money. So even
Demand for money is how many days before?
1. So 1 more, yes.
So technically, let's just play devil's advocate. So they have an offer and they are demanding that, so they have to. But in the meantime, they have like a backup that's better. Like, they could utilize all of that to demand money. So that they can maybe get the backup offer.
Well, certainly. So, I mean, it is definitely a strategy for your seller. Particularly if you have if there's any kind of indication of red flags, either with the buyer, with the agent, through the transaction. I mean, in the communications of presenting the offer, that, there may be a delay in those due diligence funds being delivered. So this is not sitting on it and waiting. I wish Rachel were here because she's got it. I had to tell her to use that form this week on one that it had been 2 weeks. They still hadn't received the due diligence money. So of course, seller's upset because they've been sitting there for 2 weeks and off the market. Whereas if she would have been and I'm not picking on her. You just don't know what you don't know. On the day after the effective date, if she would have submitted form 355T to the buyer agent demanding those monies within 1 business day, then her seller would have been able to unilaterally terminate that contract the next day.
So if they unilaterally terminate, do they go to court for that due diligence money, or is that releasing the buyer from having to produce it?
No, I mean, the buyer, it's still part of the contract. So yes, technically they could go to court for, to enforce the contract. Yes.
One comment, I like to hand deliver due diligence money, but there was a situation where the seller was farther up the road, and I mailed the check. I took pictures of everything, and had pictures of the check, and pictures of where I mailed it, just like the seller said too, and they never received it, and it was a mail thing.
Yeah.
And I had mailed it just like, and showed them the envelope and mailed it just like they asked me to do, and did certified and all that, and they never received it.
Well, and I think that's a situation where it's just communication that it was sent. And you know, I mean, if you're just getting ghosted, and again, this is where I recommend, electronic, you know, Zelle, Venmo, you know, if it's a large sum, wire it to the attorney's office, instead of a check. And relying on snail mail as well. So that's a major change, just to be aware of. Another major change, oh,
Is that 335T form new?
No.
That's always existed.
always, yeah, yes, yeah. One other thing that they did, because it makes sense, is, you know, you go through the contract and on page 9, oh, there's the home warranty, where everything else was together on page 2.
Yeah.
So they've moved it to page 2 where
So
it's, everything is
Yeah,
all
money.
right there. Yes,
anything with money,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
Anything, so home warranty, seller paid concessions, yes,
So you're looking-
all of that, yes, yes.
It's easy to me.
Yeah.
No.
Another, major change is, that they have added in the fence in, since that went into effect. It doesn't really affect us. It's just a, it's just making the seller and or buyer aware in a cash transaction that the closing attorney is going to be asking for additional information. So basically, fence in, I can't remember what it all stands for, but essentially it is, on cash transactions, attorneys are required to request additional documentation, to make sure that it is, not a foreign purchase that's like going through a shell account, that sort of thing. So that's offer to purchase, another major change, that they made is, there's new language that makes it clear that the seller has the option, but not the obligation to limit only physical access to the property, but not other. This is where you have that situation where you go under contract, we still don't have the due diligence money, but oh, we've got inspections scheduled for tomorrow. And then the due diligence still hasn't been delivered. So this is where the seller can say no to an inspector coming in. Because the contract does say that the seller will allow reasonable access, but again, they just put some language in there to clear it up that the seller can, until the due diligence monies are received, then the seller can limit the access to the buyer only. No other, no contractors, no inspectors, yes, none of that.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, increasing problem where buyers will go under contract, fail to pay the due diligence fee, inspect the property immediately after the effective date, and then terminate before the seller can issue a demand for payment. The new language makes it clear that the seller has the option, but not the obligation to limit only physical access to the property, but not other due diligence in order to help address the problem. The other thing that they added in on, under the due diligence fee deadline, because of the change, is they added in, banking day. The words banking day with the since they now get a +1. Backup contract addendum, no big changes there, just some edits to remove some of the warning boxes and that note boxes, that sort of thing. New construction addendum, major revision on new construction addendum. And also they have created a new construction forms guide to when do you use the new construction addendum? When do you use the new construction contract? So with that being said, if we're not talking about tract funds. So we're not talking about big box builders that have their own contract. This is just a custom builder that has a new build that they're selling.
But yes,
And a lot of it depends on the phase of the construction. So it very clearly states now that if it's prior to sheetrock, then you use the new construction offer to purchase and you use the new construction addendum. If it's after sheetrock, then you don't use either one of those. So kind of sum it up easily.
But wouldn't it like, I mean, would it be up to the seller? What? Because a lot of even the smaller builders use their own.
Yeah, if they use their own, then, I mean, this is just, yeah, I mean, if the builder uses their own contract, this would just be a case, where you would use our contract. Doesn't happen very often. But we have a new form. The additional parcel exhibit. So, you guys remember on the listing agreement, there was a little box that said additional parcels and you check that box. But then you had to like connect a list to it or something to that effect. And then also on the offer to purchase. So now there is a additional parcel exhibit, and similar to the agreement to amend, it's numbered at the top. So let's say that you have a piece of land or a house that in addition to, there's 3 additional parcels. So you would do additional parcel exhibit 1, additional parcel exhibit 2, and additional parcel exhibit 3, to identify specifically those parcels, so that there's no confusion as to what is being conveyed.
And this is for a listing addendum or a fire?
So, it's on the, it's on the listing agreement if there are additional parcels, and then it's also on the offer to purchase if there are additional parcels. So this is something that would be, this, additional parcel exhibit would be created at the time of listing. Because then it would be signed by the buyer so that everybody is clear, all of the
So
parcels.
if we have a buyer that is purchasing and listed, just put it in there, we should ask for.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
or like, that's it. You know, that are remote or like when would you?
Yeah, so, it could be a situation where there are, let's say that there's a structure, there's a you're out in the county, there's a house, and then they also own the lot next door and the lot over here, and they're including it all in the sale. Yes. It would also include, off-site septic as well, because that actually has a different, tax ID number. Yeah.
So if you're deeded for an additional parcel number, then you need that again, regardless of what's on it.
That is correct. Yes. Additional provisions addendum, minor changes, they just removed some warning boxes. Vacation rentals, we don't do that. New form, judicial sale addendum. Because judicial sales can be very complicated and not, we never really had a form to explain or that said, we always had to kind of get wonky with our closing date and our due diligence date, because of that 10-day upset period, that happens with judicial sales. And it depends on from county to county, as well. Different counties, handle their judicial sales differently. And it also depends on the type of sale. Is it a foreclosure sale? Is it a partition sale? What type of sale is it? And, so the rules are, different for those. So this, form makes it clear that the transaction will be subject to and subordinate to all local laws and rules and significantly alter certain obligations of the buyer and seller in some cases. So basically it just says that if something happens in the court that was out of the buyer or the seller's control, neither one of them are in breach of the contract because it was out of their anything that they could control. What else? Agreement to amend. The only thing that they really changed on the agreement to amend is that now you can remove, before last year when they updated it, you could add or remove a buyer. Now you can also add or remove a seller as well. Vacant land offer to purchase, changes on that mirror the changes on the residential offer to purchase. Exclusive right to sell. This is where it's gonna get fun. So, major changes, here. So there's a section, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit more when we get to, the new Form 220. It's been totally revised, but on the exclusive right to sell, there's a section, that's been updated to explain the new option to sellers, as well as provide necessary disclaimer for both office exclusive and new, marketing options. And that just has to do with MLS, making changes. There's a line added to address what the firm's compensation may be if a buyer is unrepresented. So this would be sub-agent of the seller. If you are a sub-agent of the seller, buyer has no it's your listing, buyer has no representation, then it indicates what the total firm compensation would be in that instance. Because sometimes it's different. Sometimes you may negotiate with your client and say, okay, if I bring the buyer, then I'll do it for 5% versus 6%. Another major change, buyer agent compensation being addressed in the offer to purchase and contract. Now, why in the world they didn't add a checkbox for Form 220, I have no clue. I asked them to do that. But no, now you have to check additional addenda and put Form 220, which a lot of you have already been using that practice anyway.
On the offer to purchase.
On the offer to purchase.
Done.
Yes, yes. There's only, so this is a major change. There's only one option. Now, no longer can the firm offer compensation. because it requires a firm policy. And, we don't have one, and I'm not writing one. It's all right, come on in. Yeah, or you can just sit, you can.
So we, as a listing firm, do not offer compensation,
Correct.
always the seller.
Always the seller. Yes, and so, you will see on the listing agreement, which I'll pull up here in just a few minutes, that, there's only one box to check. Well, there is a box that says per the firm's attached policy, but we don't have one, so we won't check that box. All compensation is coming from the seller. We're gonna dig into it a little bit more. It's coming from the seller as a credit, bless you. As a credit to the buyer. So if we look at this from a stand on your head convoluted way, the buyer is paying the compensation. The buyer has always paid the compensation. We just hit it in the list price. So this is truly what you're checking on the listing agreement is that the seller authorizes the firm to advertise. I wish they wouldn't have used that word. We still can't advertise it, but a whatever percentage to the buyer agent as a credit to the buyer. So the buyer paying the compensation, but the seller's giving the buyer the credit to pay the compensation on the settlement statement.
So the seller doesn't pay the commission, is that what you're saying? I'm sure if I'm understanding. That's changed?
Well, it hasn't changed because technically the seller has never paid the compensation. It's always been paid by the buyer. But let's just say that we're listing a house. I'm gonna use easy numbers.
What do you mean the compensation is paid by the buyer?
Yes. So,
The buyer bought the house.
Does the buyer pay the money to buy the house?
yes. Yeah.
Think of it that way. Think of it, who's giving the money to the pot? The buyer.
Right, yes, yes. So, so I'm listing Magali's house, okay, for $100,000. And she said, well, what's the commission? And I say 6%. And so she says, well, let's list at 106. So that's where instead of at 100, we've added that in. Buyer pays 106, they're paying the commission. Does that make sense?
But even if it stayed at 100, the buyer is paying the 100,000, so
Right.
that it's coming out of that 100.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because
On
the seller's
paper-
receiving the money,
They're just
they're
giving less
just
profit.
allocating
Yeah.
the money
Yes,
to
yes.
buy it.
On paper, yes, and so it's kind of like everything on the CD. It's just a whole bunch of numbers
Yeah.
on the paper to make it all balance out to what it's supposed to. So on the CD, it says that the seller is paying the compensation. They're paying the compensation out of their proceeds where the buyer has given them the money to
Yes.
pay the compensation. Language added that the seller must provide a valid ID and that they have the legal right to sell the property. We've run into a couple of those. Same changes for vacant land. Vacant land disclosure statement, it's just redrafted. Same information is there, they just made it a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to read, the language in there. Exclusive buyer agency agreement, just some minor things there, nothing big, just that the buyer must comply with the closing attorney instructions and any obligations and a purchase contract. So language is being put into these things in order to protect from things that sometimes buyers do that we would consider a breach, but because it wasn't addressed in the paperwork, it's not considered a breach. But now they're putting it in there. And then also when they, buyer, it says, nope, I don't want to do new construction. And then all of a sudden they decide that they want to do new construction. There's just some language in there about that. And then also some language added in to explain FinCEN reporting as well.
What?
FinCEN.
What is that?
Oh, you must have come in after I talked about it earlier. It is it really doesn't affect us in any way. The attorneys have new reportings that they have to do, for FinCEN regulation, for cash transactions. Non-exclusive buyer agency agreement, same changes as the exclusive, redrafted Form 220. I'm just gonna read it to you, and then we can have a discussion around it. So, this form has been redrafted to be an addendum to a purchase contract instead of a standalone agreement. It has also been changed to reflect that the buyer agent compensation is paid by the seller, and there is no longer an option for it to be paid by the listing firm.
Yeah,
We talked about
they
that.
can't come.
Since Form
I called
220 is
another
no longer a
one and
standalone agreement, and given that it should only be used as an
away
addendum
from
to the
that job
contract,
because it's such a big job.
agents should
And
not
now I've got
have
to
the
call
seller
into
sign
two
it
other
at a
people.
listing appointment in advance. So in compliance, it's gone. It's no longer there. It used to be a required form in compliance. It's updated. It's gone.
Anybody we
Still
can get
required under
to,
contract, but not on the listing.
I'm waiting
agreement.
on another call back.
The seller can inform the listing agent of what they wish to offer for buyer agent compensation, if any, in the listing agreement itself. Then, when the purchase
I'm
contract is
trying, I've got to call
negotiated,
into the
Form 220
paralegal.
can
I
be
need
used
to
as
ask
an
her a couple
addendum at that
questions
time to reflect
regarding what
the
you just
parties
sent
have
me.
negotiated. The new
So,
version of Form 220 should
and
be
escrow
included
and how you get that back.
in the section of the purchase contract that asks for identification of other attorney or
Yeah,
party drafted
And you won't
addendum.
have it the
This
first
is
of
where I was
August,
gonna put a check, just put a check box.
but
over
it's
there.
not due until
'Cause now
August,
everybody is
January
gonna
next
type in.
year. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
going to talk to her about.
Thoughts on that?
So I'm in a meeting, a Zoom meeting. As soon as I get off that, I'm going to call the paralegal back.
So we talked about it a little bit yesterday in
Okay.
the big update.
Thanks. Bye.
So essentially, as the buyer agent, you are creating Form 220 and submitting it with the offer. We used to have to, text, call, chase down, lasso, rope, whatever we could do, the listing agent to say, hey, what are you offering as compensation? And then half of them would say, depends on what your offer is. And so now we create Form 220. We put in our compensation. That compensation matches your buyer agency agreement. So if your buyer agency agreement says 3%, then your Form 220 says 3%. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and then it's attached as an addenda with this, is that as we know, compensation is negotiable. And any negotiation of compensation will constitute a counter offer because it's an addendum to the contract. So if the seller's good with the price, all terms that the buyer, except for they only want to pay you 1%. That's a counter to your offer. So just to be aware of that. Only the seller has to sign it. So no longer are agents signing 220. Yeah, because the firm's not offering. You know, the agent had to sign it when the firm was offering compensation. The seller didn't necessarily have to sign it because we had it taken care of in the listing agreement. But now that the seller is the one paying or giving credit to the buyer or the buyer to pay, then the seller is the only one that needs to sign.
So are those signature boxes gone? And for the agents? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this just, when you're saying that the agency no longer provides compensation for the striking from the seller, is this just for Keller Williams? Is this all real estate?
Everybody in North Carolina. Yes.
So on the listing agreement, when you're having that discussion and you're putting in what the seller wants to offer, is there language in there that says like, be prepared because you may get something that is not this? And it would be a counter offer? Like,
So all of this is a marked up version, so you can see what has changed. They did change, again, this was just based on MLS stuff for, public marketing, versus, they added limited distribution. We don't do that, so, that doesn't affect us. Office exclusive. It just explains it a little bit better to the seller. The dates are still and initials are still required. We don't do this, so we would never initial there. So this is where the seller. This is where this is the firm's fee. So this is where it may change. So they added in this box. So 3% of the property's gross sales price, or 3.5%. If the buyer's unrepresented, I'll go down to 5%. And then any other fees. So any other fees, this is where you add in your $150 transaction fee, or whatever it is that you charge. The market center charges $150. We recommend you pass that on to your buyer or your seller. If your transaction fee is higher than that, then that's okay. That's a complete business decision that you would make. But we do recommend that, and that's where it would go, the $150 in the other fees line. So you can see cooperative compensation, a lot of changes there. Now we've changed it to buyer agent compensation. Seller has no duty to offer compensation to an agent who is working with the buyer. Firm has provided the seller with the firm's best advice on the advantages and disadvantages of offering or not offering buyer agent compensation. Seller accordingly does or does not agree to offer compensation to a buyer's agent. If the seller does agree, then you check one of these boxes. This one, we don't have a firm's attached policy. So we're always going to check the top box. Seller authorizes firm to advertise 3% of the property's gross sales price or a flat amount of X as a credit to the buyer to cover the fee paid to the buyer's agent. The final amount of any credit for a buyer agent fee will be negotiated and included as part of the purchase contract. So yes, the language is there. So this is, and so this is where we're gonna have to have conversation with our buyers as well. So if the seller says, I'll pay 2% of it, and you send over the Form 220 that says 3%, and the seller comes back and they counter and say, I'll pay 2% of it as a credit to the buyer to cover the fee paid to the, then you get the other 1% from your buyer. Because your buyer agency agreement said 3%. Seller's gonna pay 2% of that. But Mr. and Ms. Buyer, you have to pay the other 1%. Questions?
So we are coming up with an amount to give the buyer's agent during that listing appointment. But
Correct.
at the end of the day, they can come back to whatever they want.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so in a way, nothing has changed because that's always how it's been. You could always. ask.
It's always been negotiable.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're gonna come up with an amount that we're like, this is what we're happy with, but. We
Based
get
on
our
what
our
they
offer, there could be a chance that buyer's agent may have a different number than we've already determined, and we'll have that conversation.
Yes. Well, and
Or the offer makes a difference, right?
Yes.
Like, if your house is 200, but I bring an offer at 175, that seller may be like, okay, I'm gonna pay 2 on that.
right.
But if you'd given me 200, I
Yeah,
might have paid
yeah,
3.
Okay.
Yes.
How do
Exactly.
you tell the, like, I guess I'm thinking for an attorney, like if that seller's given 2% and that buyer's 1%, you just have to note that like in whatever they.
So most of the attorneys, and Chris, you could probably add to this as you just put food in your mouth. So the attorneys, have always sent out a BIF and a SIF.
Yeah.
They send out a now agent information sheet as well. And so on that, it indicates what's the compensation and
Right.
who's paying it. Yeah, yeah. And so that's
what I'm
where,
thinking.
yeah.
Yeah, and they may have to like the buyer's agency agreement.
Gotcha.
Where it states it.
Of which we do not share.
Right?
Huh?
We don't have to give that to them, right?
No, we don't share the buyer. There's a confirmation of compensation form that you can send to them. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same way because some of the tract builders started asking for your buyer agency agreement.
Because they were paying this and they wanted to know what you had agreed to.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we would use that form
Okay.
as opposed to,
That's allowed.
yes.
Okay.
If seller authorizes the firm to advertise a credit to cover a buyer's agent fee, seller agrees to pay the credit at closing in compliance with the purchase contract. Nothing in this section will prohibit the seller from later offering to pay other concessions to a buyer in a purchase contract or later offering compensation to a buyer's agent in a separate document. So this is plan A, but we might end up going with plan B, subject to change. Plan A, subject to change. So that is, and then please put the total cost down here. Some of y'all get so jumbled up and you don't know, and if you put the total cost.
They don't know how to add.
They don't know that and what they're adding.
Yes, if you put the total cost, then it totally makes sense when
A listing agent's getting this much, a buyer's agent's
When-
getting this much, and the seller can see that.
B plus C equals D. So if you've got 3.5 here, plus your 150 transaction fee or whatever your transaction fee amount is, and then you've got 3% here, your total cost is going to be 6%. 3 plus 3 equals 6% plus 150 transaction fee. Got it?
Got it.
It does say that it's optional. I asked them to remove it.
They just
Clearly,
look at you.
clearly you see the pull that I have with the NPR, but
Let's go, help you.
yeah.
They should make the formula.
Yeah.
B plus C. B plus
Yes,
any additional.
yes, yeah. This is the other change I talked about. Seller must provide valid identification at any time, and affirms their identification is current and that they have the legal right to sell the property. And then this is your FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Wow, I knew it would tell me in here what it was. It's a bureau of the Department of Treasury, investigates and prosecutes financial crimes, and it collects and analyzes transaction data for this purpose, among other. FinCEN's residential real estate rule requires certain professionals involved in residential real estate closings is residential only, including closing attorneys, to submit reports to FinCEN regarding certain transfers to legal entities or trusts. The rule aims to increase transparency and combat money laundering and terrorism financing. However, it may also increase closing costs. So it basically just says that the attorney's probably going to charge you a little bit more if you're in this situation. And it's just cash transactions. Let's see. 355T, notice to buyer to deliver cash or immediately available funds. This is the one that we talked about. If I can get it pulled up real quick, I'm still doing it on time. Oh, right in front of my eyeballs. Thank you. So you can see the minor changes that were made. If the buyer fails to timely deliver, just some changes because of the effective +1. Any check that is late or dishonored, then you would use this form. Which one they failed to deliver, which one, any and all, or the check was dishonored. Seller hereby demands that buyer deliver cash, official bank check, wire transfer, electronic transfer to the payee in payment of the above referenced items no later than 1 banking day following this notice. As you see, only the seller has to sign this document because they are the ones demanding. So only the seller signs the document. It's sent to the buyer's agent, buyer agent, and all intents and purposes sends it to their client. If within 1 banking day, your seller does not have, and you notice it does not say personal check. It must be official bank check, because here's the whole thing. If they didn't deliver it and it's because they didn't have the money, and then now they're going to write a check, well, then the check's not going to go through either. So it has to be either certified, has to be real money. We don't take cash, but official bank check, wire transfer, or electronic transfer is the only way that can be delivered. So here we don't have to worry about, oh, well, it's in the mail. Sort of thing. So, professional services. I know, Chris, you'd love it. This is Chris's favorite form now. You either check if it's a buyer or a seller, client, firm, property address, And then, so they added a whole bunch, but they kind of made it a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
I think the selected and waived is gonna get a little,
I know, you can hardly, don't know
Yeah.
what they're signing.
yeah,
Well, and yes,
the space.
the spacing, especially like when you put electronic signature in there, because sometimes it's like right on the line, well, which one did it mean?
Yeah.
Did it mean
Yeah.
this one or did it
Yeah.
mean this one? Yeah.
Very, yeah, very weird.
That part I did not have. Elevator inspection.
Yeah, well, I mean, Judy might have one every now and then.
Never
You did have an elevator inspection, didn't you? Yeah. Engineer, home inspection, HVAC, pest inspection, full spa, private bridge, yeah, private road investigation.
I like that they separated the, water,
Septic and,
the well and the water.
yes,
Sometimes
Yes.
they're different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they also separated septic and sewer,
Yeah.
because those are obviously different as well. And then, of course, you can put any additional, that may be in there. Reminder, the client signs it as well as the firm. So that, offer purchasing contract, new construction, we talked about that. How that has changed, let's see if there's another quick one.
Looks like you have some chat questions too.
Oh, chat questions. How do I do that? Oh,
You got 6 of them.
6 chat questions. What you chat?
We are not seeing your screen.
Oh,
Your
only your
drive,
drive.
that was earlier.
So, Lisa, yes. You don't have to. I mean, that's totally a business decision up to you. But this is becoming, more and more common for, agents to charge a transaction fee, even for firms, entire firms, to make it mandatory that their agents charge a transaction fee. We don't make it mandatory. However, we do recommend that, that you pass that on to your sellers or your buyers, either one. But again, you certainly don't have to. It's just a business decision on your side. Yeah, we agree. Dream of spacious for initials are super small.
Or they need to do that like like the box,
Yeah,
wave
Just
their
raise
nose,
your box.
or you check the box and then, I don't know, but that is gonna be very convenient.
Yeah.
Plus to add it in there. Like,
any other questions?
Are these forms that for all of North Carolina, or is there a specific, I believe?
All North Carolina, yeah. So these are, every year, the Forms Committee at NCAR, North Carolina Association of Realtors, in conjunction with the Real Estate Commission, redo forms. And, well, we did go a few years in a row where they didn't redo anything, and then the next year, they redid them 3 times within the same year. So typically once a year, July 1 is when we have forms updates. Unless, something weird happens, like, I don't know, people sue NAR and, for some reason we have to modify a form or change a form or add another form or whatever. Not user friendly. I hear you, Lisa. Yes, so this time every year, we're, and again, not all of them change. Just certain things change based on laws, rules, whatever, compliance, yes. And so, yes, these forms are for all of North Carolina. So every person that is a Realtor uses these forms. I know you're not a Realtor yet, but you will be, so you're able to use these forms. Yes, and so, NCAR and, in conjunction with the bar, so that they're legal forms, the bar actually creates, NCAR says this is what we want it to say, and then the bar creates the actual form. Any other questions? Judith, this one.
So the buyer agent, has an agreement that says my minimum compensation is 2.4. The seller's offer is 2.5. What do we have to do next?
Oh, Form 710 to, yes, to modify to modify the buyer agency agreement. Yes, yes. Same thing if it changes from your listing agreement. So if we, at sitting down at listing time, we said, seller said, okay, I'm gonna offer 2.5, and then when it comes in with the offer, when whatever comes in with the offer, you know, if it comes in 50,000 over list price and we feel confident that it's gonna appraise, but the buyer agent's asking for 3%, then the seller may say, sure, I'll pay 3%. And so then you would use Form 710 to modify your listing agreement. Form 710 is used to modify either a listing agreement or a buyer agency agreement.
And when a buyer agent is writing up an offer, they're always referencing, the attachment of 220,
Yes,
which do needs to be.
that's correct.
Before we was like submitted.
Correct. Yes, yes. So now it becomes a part of the offer.
Just like let's say a gain or something like that.
Negotiated.
Yeah, so it can be negotiated.
So.
Yeah. Yes. Somebody. Jarima, did you answer your own question? Apparently, it looks like it. Yes, so, oh, stop. Yeah, here we go. So this is the whole summary of all of the changes. And if you click on the link, it'll actually take you to the marked up version of the form itself. Everybody can change. Where I'm at. Oh, up there. This thing over here is your bar, not, can it not come down? This way. We'll get to a different tab. Yeah, it's, I mean, I have it saved in the drive, but you can go to NC Realtors. Okay. And, or you may have even gotten an email. So you can just look in your email that says updated forms, the forms changes or something like that. And it pulls this up and then, you just click on the blue hyperlink and it'll actually pull up the It'll pull, the marked up version, yeah. So in other words, have both of them, but you would, like, here's the non-marked up version. But here's the marked up version that shows you everything that changed, yeah. And like with the additional parcels, so there's still a checkbox there, but now it's an attached exhibit. It used to just say attached exhibit, period, but now they created a form for it.
If they were a listing agent, you get offers on the old offer, when do you tell them they need to change over?
So, it's September.
Oh.
Yeah, September is
So
the,
you'll still approve.
of course, yeah. Yes, yes. However, if they're using Lone Wolf and they use it the way that we use DocuSign, then all of the new stuff is attached to a Lone Wolf link. So like
This
they
would be more getting, coming from other firms.
yes, yeah. But like listing agreements, moving forward, listing agreements, fire agency agreements, all of that should be on the new forms. Yes. All right, any other questions? Thank y'all for being here, Zoomers. Thank y'all for being here, my live studio audience.
Yeah.
And there's ice cream.
And there's ice cream.
It's in Milton.
No, it's in the
No, it's in the
freezer.
freezer. And there's a little bit of
we're
everything.
okay.
There's sugar free, there's sugar full, there's fruit and. Sugar full.
I like that. Let me sign
You
you.
should market
Look
that.
perked up.
It's in the freezer, whatever she
I'm
wants.
Brian.
Yeah,
Nice to
don't
meet
get
you.
it
I
done.
know your name.
Oh,